Hello class, welcome to video for Lab 0. In order for you to find the instructions for Lab 0, you're gonna go to Blackboard, you're gonna go to Labs, and here you're gonna click on this particular link over here that is gonna take us to the GitHub repository for Lab 0. So I'm gonna open it in a new tab. Also, if you click on Start here, and you go to Course GitHub repository, which I suggests you that you bookmark in your computer, is going to take us to the GitHub repository of the entire class, where you're going to find all the information for the class. But we're not going to worry about that right now. This is what we need, which is these are the instructions for lab number 0. So let's get started. I'm in my Windows virtual machine right now. I am using this because I'm assuming most of you are using Windows. So question number one, we need to install VS Code, which is the text editor that we're going to use to write our notes, to do our labs, to do, the projects, to pretty much do most of our work. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna Google VS Code. Oh, type over there, no problem. And nope, this is what I need. VS Code and download. We're gonna be using VS Code because VS Code is available on every platform that you can think of. It's very intuitive, it's very easy to use. There are a lot of resources out there, and it's also a tool that a lot of people on the field use. So it's always good to know the stuff that is trendy in the market. So I am using a Windows computer right now, so I'm gonna click on the Windows icon, and I'm gonna click on Save File. And this is just a regular installer. I'm assuming that most of you are familiar with how to install applications on your computer. If you're using a Mac, the process is very similar to how you install any other application on your Mac, so it shouldn't be any different. This should install pretty quick. I'm gonna close that because I don't need it anymore. Let's minimize this for now. Okay, once VS Code is installed, we're going to install all these following extensions over here. And some of you might be asking yourself, what are extensions? Well, extensions for VS Code are nothing but small little programs that give more power and more functionality to the text editor. Pretty much all text editor out there and IDEs, integrated development environments, support the availability to add extensions, because as you progressed in your coding life, for those of you who are studying, for example, web development, you are gonna need to improve on your productivity, and those extensions are there to make you more productive. For our course, we're gonna be writing a lot of Markdown. Pretty much everything you're gonna be writing is gonna be Markdown. So we're gonna install a bunch of Markdown extensions that are gonna make the process of working with Markdown easier. We're also going to install the code spell checker, because why not? It's always good to have a spell checker in there for those of us who don't have a perfect English, and live server, because you might use it for your project. Those of you who are in the web environment might use it for some of your HTML. We're not going to be doing nothing related to HTML here, but some of you might choose that route, so we're going to put it there because it's useful. So the installation is done. I'm gonna launch VS Code as soon as it's installed, and I'm gonna go and install those extensions. So I'm gonna put this on the corner. And to install the extensions, all I have to do is click over here on the gears and go to extensions, and then I can just look for the name. I'm gonna look for live server, and this is the one that you need to install. So I'm gonna click on install, and that's done. Then I'm gonna look for Markdown, and from here I will need Markdown all-in-one. I will also need Markdown Preview Enhanced, and I'm also going to need Markdown to PDF. I will also need, what is it? I don't see it. Markdown Talk, which is table of contents. We're gonna talk about that down the road, and Markdown Converter. We also need PDF preview, which will allow us to view previews of PDF files inside VS Code, because sometimes you want to look at a PDF file and you don't want to open another program just for that, and this makes our life easy, so why not installing it? And finally, code spell checker. Okay, that is ready. I'm going to minimize VS Code for the time being, and let's move along to question number 2. Uh, Download the following PDF file. So I'm gonna click on link, and it should take me to another, to another GitHub, to another part of our GitHub repository where we have this particular file, and I'm just gonna click on download. Since I'm using Firefox, it's gonna open automatically over there, but in reality, I actually want the file. As a matter of fact, I'm just gonna keep it over here in the web browser because why not? I mean, I was gonna open it anyway. So let me go back to our lab. Okay. Then part 2 will be in VS Code, create a new file and name it notes0.md. Okay, so in order for me to create a new file in VS Code, it's very simple. All we have to do is click on File, New File, and I can just save it. If you want the shortcut to save it, will be Control S. Later on, we're gonna be working on how to open folders and do more advanced things. But for now, let's just follow the instructions over here. As the course progresses, you're gonna learn more about VS Code and about other things. But for the time being, this is good enough. So I'm gonna leave it right there on my home directory. If you wanna put it somewhere else, that's fine. So I'm gonna call this notes0.md. Let me make sure that is the name indicated over here. Notes0.md, perfect. And I'm going to click on save. Perfect. I'm going to toggle this for the time being, and let me go back to my instructions. Question 3. Read the presentation, what is Markdown? So I'm going to open this in a new tab, and this presentation is going to introduce you to Markdown. So let's get started. So what is Markdown? Because I have said that a lot already. So Markdown is a markup language that lets you write plain text documents with a few lightweight formatting options. Markdown is a publishing format, similar to how HTML is as well for the web. Markdown is a general purpose markup language that allows us to write text fast. It was created by John Gruber in 2004, and since then it has been a tool adopted by many other technologies as a base ground for even more powerful technologies. Markdown is content focused, and that means you are focusing on writing and not on formatting. Markdown is future proof because you're working with plain text. Plain text is just text. It's not proprietary, it's not like Microsoft Office because you write a Word document, it's good as long as Microsoft Office is good, but with Markdown you're writing just plain text. Multiple implementations of Markdown exist. You have Common Mark, GitHub Flavor, which is what we are going to be using since we're going to be using GitHub in this class, and you have also Multi-Markdown. What can you do with Markdown? Because that all sounds fancy, but what can I do with it? Why should I learn it? In this class, we have people that study pretty much networking, web development, tech support. Why should everybody learn it? What makes this technology useful? Well, first of all, it's a way of formatting plain text. It's a way of working with just plain text data and giving formatting to that particular text, like bolding it, doing headings and paragraphs and even creating tables. It can convert plain text documents into HTML. HTML is hypertext markup language, is what websites are written with. The content of a website is written using HTML. And if you use Markdown, you can convert that particular content into HTML in one single command in a second, which makes the process of writing content for websites very, very fast. That's the reason why many website management platform or static sites generator use Markdown for writing the content. You can also turn plain text documents into PDFs in a breeze. or docx for Microsoft Office documents, or in PowerPoint presentations. You can actually write entire PowerPoint presentations in Markdown and use a different program that takes that Markdown text and generates a beautiful PowerPoint with that. Those of you who are interested in that, check out Pandoc and Beamer. You're going to find a bunch of tutorials on YouTube if you want to learn how to do it. Also, Markdown is used by a lot of other technologies that are canonical in the market right now. For instance, all the README files are in GitHub, and pretty much all documentation for GitHub and GitLab and all those other version control systems use Markdown. So you gotta know Markdown, especially because if you're gonna get a job in the field and you're gonna be working in companies that make software or work with software, obviously, because that's what you're studying, you're gonna be using either GitHub or GitLab or some other form of version control. For those of you studying networking, Markdown is amazing for writing documentation. And don't be surprised if one day you actually use it for that particular purpose. As a matter of fact, in this class, you will use it for that purpose exactly. Static site generators like Hugo and Jekyll use Markdown as well. And those of you who study web development, take a minute and go check out what static site generators are, because that's important for your field. Note-taking apps, they all use Markdown for them. Well, most of them at least. A lot of social media websites, use Markdown to allow you to put in text, and to format text as well. Also, industry standard documentation, Markdown is used a lot for that. It's very common to see it used for that. So, there you go. So let's get started. So the first thing that I want to teach you about Markdown is how do you format headings. Headings are those big text that start a particular paragraph. For example, in our previous document over here, this is a heading. This is a heading 1. Look, that is bigger than this heading over here. This over here is heading 2. This over here is heading 3. And this is just a plain paragraph. Those of you who study web development are familiar with the idea of headings using the H1 tags. So in Markdown, we can do it as well. And it's very, very easy to do. The only thing that you have to do is put a hashtag at the beginning of the sentence, a space, and whatever you type over there is a heading. You want a heading 2, put 2 hashtags. You want heading 3, 3. Heading 4, 4, and so on. Now that you know how to use headings, what we're going to do is that we're going to jump ahead a little bit, because in this lab, you are going to be required to recreate that document using Markdown. So now that I told you how to do headings, why don't we do the headings for that particular document? For example, I have what is Ubuntu, and I'm just going to be copying and pasting because why not? This is heading 1, and I know that what is Ubuntu over here again is heading 2. So I'm going to do 2 hashtags, and I'm going to put the text. Later on, we have a little bit of Ubuntu background. So let's do this. 1, 2. And then we have a heading 3 over here. Okay. Then we have this over here is also another heading 3. And then we have a nice, beautiful table over there, which is heading 2. It could also be, it's probably heading 3, because based on the size of the font between this one and this one, it looks like heading 3. And finally, we have another heading 3 over here, and our document is ready, right? Now, it would be nice to look to have an idea about how this is looking already. So I'm going to save my file by going into File and click on Save. You can also do Ctrl S in your keyboard to save. And if I want to see a preview of how this document is looking already, all I have to do is right click and click on Markdown Preview Enhanced. And this is going to generate a preview of how my document is looking like already. And that's it. That's headings. So let's talk about paragraphs, right? There are formattings that we do with paragraphs that are important to know. So to write paragraphs, all you have to do is start typing. That's it. You don't need to put nothing in the beginning, just start typing, and that's a paragraph, right? But paragraphs can be formatted. For instance, you can have letters that are bold, and complete words or sentences that can be bold. For instance, if you want to bold something in Markdown, all you have to do is put two asterisks in the beginning, write whatever you need to write, and then two asterisks in the end. No spaces. Now, here is an example. For instance, I want to type I love Linux, and I want to bold the word love. Okay, so let's go over here, and right over here underneath what is Ubuntu, I am gonna do I love Linux. But I want to bold the word love. So I put two asterisks in the beginning, two asterisks in the end. And notice how it was bold. If I want to do the entire sentence, same thing. Done. Okay, let's remove that. Let's go back over here. If I want to do italics, right? It's simple. 1 star. That's it. 1 star, and that word is going to be italicized. If I want to do a strike through, a line in the middle of the word, there you go. 2 tilde characters. As simple as that. Let's take a look at that. So I want to do I love Linux, but Windows not so much. I want to strike through the word Windows, so I'm gonna put 2 tilde characters over here, 2 tilde characters in the end. And I want to italize the word Linux, so I want to put one over here and one over here. But you know what? I want to bold the entire sentence, so why don't I do that? Notice that this word is italicized, this is a strike through, and the entire thing is bold. So I'm going to delete this, and now that I know how to do paragraphs, I am going to continue working on my document. Oh, okay, this is important. Markdown does not support underline, because in the world of the web, an underline means a link. So if you ever think of, oh, I want to underline a particular word, you're out of luck. You can't. Period. It's just a limitation of the language. Okay, so I want to go back over here and let me copy the paragraph like this. Come on. There you go. And I'm going to paste it over here. Done. Now let me do the same thing with this over here. Actually, we're going to hold on to this because I need to teach you how to do lists, because this is a bulleted list. So, working with list and working with order list, right? Because you have two types of lists. You have order lists, which are the ones that starts with numbers, and then you have bulleted lists, which starts with bullet points. How do you do, order list? Simple. The number, a period, a space, and the items that you're listing. Here is an example. Pets, food, jobs. And if I want to indent, tab 1, period, dog, 2, period, cat. Let's take a look at it. Let's do an example. Actually, this doesn't go there. This goes here. Perfect. So let's do an example over here. I want to do a list of operating systems. So I want to do operating systems. Perfect. And Windows, Ubuntu, Mac OS, Android, iOS. Perfect. What I did there, enter, backspace. I want to make a list of programs, right? Software. Let's do Firefox, Chrome, Steam, right? And Nemo, Photoshop. You get the deal. Okay, let's delete all of that, and that's it. That's how you do, order list. Very simple. Unordered list. There is even simpler. In order for you to do unordered list, all you have to do is start either with an asterisk, a plus sign, or a minus sign, and that's it. For instance, here is a list of pets. Here is a list of pets as well, but with an indent, but with one indent. Here is another example, and look, I can even combine them. That's it. Block quotes. But before we do block quotes, let's fix our document. So let's go back over here and let's go into what is Ubuntu. And what we're going to do is that we are going to create the first list. I'm only going to do the first one. You take care of copying the rest. I'm just doing it like this for the sake of time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this over here. And notice that at this point over here, I need another list. So what I'm going to do is put a hashtag here. Not a hashtag, sorry, a star or asterisk, and then put another one over here, but I'm gonna tab in so that it is indented. Notice how it is rendering over here already. And what, right over here, and finally right over here. Perfect. If I want to do the other ones, I copy and I paste and then fix it accordingly. Okay, now when we get to working with images, I'll show you how to work with images. At the moment, we have something else to work with. Block quotes, and block quotes are just that, quotes, quoted text. How do you do that? Simple. Greater than sign. Done. For instance, I like potatoes. See how it appears over here? That's how a block quote is formatted in Markdown. So, this, by the way, is being rendered as HTML. I can also say pizza is great. Linux is the best OS in the world. Perfect. That's it. That's how you do block quote. Now I'm gonna delete this. And now let me talk to you about code blocks. And code blocks are a specific block of text that is supposed to be source code of a particular program. For example, here is hello world in Python. Let's say that you're writing a documentation to teach somebody, I don't know, how to run Python code on a Linux computer. And you want to include that particular code, as an example of code in your documentation. Simple. You put 3 backsticks, you put whatever code you have in there, and then you put 3 more backsticks. And that's it. Let's take a look at how that is rendered. For instance, to update Ubuntu, use the following commands. Sudo apt update, sudo apt upgrade, sudo apt full upgrade. Now see how it is formatted over here, nice and beautiful, and the reader of your documentation can understand that that is a command, that is code, that is not just part of the paragraph. You can also do it inline, meaning right there in the paragraph. For example, I can say to install VLC in Ubuntu, use the following command. Sudo apt install VLC -y. And notice how it gets rendered over here. That's great. That is neat. That is understandable. Important. GFM or GitHub Flavor Markdown allows you as well to create code blocks by just tabbing the particular paragraph that you're writing. But that is a feature only of GFM. So if you're writing Markdown text, and you want that to be cross-platform with other implementations of Markdown, you need to keep that in mind. For the most part, I prefer to use the backticks option for my text because that is understood by all versions of Markdown. Let's talk about working with links, because a lot of times when you're writing text, you are also embedding words. For instance, I'm gonna tell somebody, hey, go to google.com. For example, when we clicked over here, this is a link. How do we format it so it looks like that? It's actually the only thing in Markdown that I find that is gonna give that personally is gonna take you a little bit to remember. In order for you to do links, we do a particular formula. In brackets, we put the particular text that we want to appear in the document. And then in parentheses, we paste the URL. For example, I can say, to download Ubuntu, go to, and then here I'm gonna put Ubuntu download page, and then here I can put the URL. Let's go to Ubuntu download, and I'm just gonna copy the URL over here. You put it over here. Notice how it renders over here on my preview of my Markdown document. And that's it. That's how you work with links. Very simple, but it takes a little bit to remember it. But don't worry, I'll give you a trick at the end of this presentation. To work with images is the same as working with link. The only difference is you need to provide an exclamation point at the beginning. For example, let's say that this particular image, I want to use this particular image. So I'm gonna copy this image. Come on, it's not gonna let me do it. Let me take a screenshot of that. It's easier that way. A snipping tool. And I'm gonna save that, and I'm gonna put it right there in my desktop, right? And I'm gonna call it desktop, and I'm gonna save it. Now I'm gonna go to my to VS Code, and I want to use that image in my document. For example, I want to put that image over here, and it's easy. All I have to do is question mark, and I need to put an alternate text over here. I'm gonna call this Ubuntu 6 desktop, and in parentheses I need to put the location of that file. That file is located, if your Markdown document is located in the same folder as your pictures, all you have to do is put the name of the picture. In this case, that is true. I believe that I have both of these in the same directory. So let's go back. Let me open my file explorer. Nope, I don't. So I'm gonna move that, and I'm gonna put it in my users directory, my user folder. My user is called student, and here is my document. So I'm gonna paste it right over here, and it's rename desktop. Okay, desktop.png. I'm just gonna copy this to make it easier. And right here in the parentheses, all I have to do is put the name of the picture. It also works with URLs from the internet. For example, I want to put the Ubuntu logo. Open. Oh, that's not an image, but this is view image. Perfect. So I want to use this image in my document. So I can say Ubuntu mascot. Notice the open bracket and close bracket, and my exclamation point over here. And over here, all I have to do is put the URL. And boom, image is right there. And that's it. That's how you work with images. That's how you put images in your Markdown document. Okay, now GitHub specific Markdown, GFM. Now, GFM has some specific formatting that they have implemented over the years. One of those that I like is the support of checkboxes, and that's pretty cool. For example, take a look at this. If I want to create a list of checkboxes, it's very simple. All I have to do is this. Check me. No. Check me. The only problem here is that, as you can see, this doesn't render um, in my previewer over here. And the reason why this doesn't render is because, again, that's specific to GitHub. However, when you upload this to GitHub, eventually I'm going to show you how to do all of that. At the moment, you don't need to worry about it. You will be able to use this particular feature. If you want to do something to be checked, just put an X there, and that appears as if it's checked. Again, it's not going to render over here, because this is just my previewer. Not everything is going to work because that is specific to GitHub. Hopefully, the creator of this extension eventually upgrades it so that it supports that feature, but at the moment it doesn't. Just keep that in mind. Also, GitHub supports auto-hat linking. What does that mean? It means that if you want users to just be able to see the full link and also make that link clickable. For example, instead of doing this, let's say I want to write something, say go to google.com. Go to google.com. Now, notice that over here, the entire link becomes clickable, but also does the link properly formatted. If you're using GFM, GitHub Flavor Markdown, this hat linking functionality works, but in other versions of Markdown, it might not work. Now, what I suggest is stick to what works everywhere, which is this option over here. And on top of everything, this looks neater. Okay. Also, another thing that GitHub does is that it allows us to do code syntax highlighting. For example, if you're writing Python code, you can just specify after the 3 quotes the language that you're writing the code for, and GitHub will do syntax highlighting for it. This is something we're going to explore later on in the course, but I just wanted to mention it now so that you are aware that that exists. Here is how it previews. This is how you type it. This is how it looks like. Beautiful, right? Now, I know that everything that I spoke right now, you're not going to be able to remember it all. As a matter of fact, in the first 2-3 weeks, you are going to be consistently going over and see, oh, I don't remember how to do this. I don't remember how to do that. And that's exactly why I gave you a cheat sheet. This is a cheat sheet provided by GitHub, and it has everything that I explained to you. It has, for instance, you don't remember how to do headers. You can just simply go over here and, oh, I remember. You use the pound. I don't remember how to do list. Oh, here is an example. I don't remember how to do images. Here is an example. Oh, I don't remember how to do, for example, tables. Here is an example. And I don't know why I didn't include tables over here in this presentation. I might have to go and edit it. Let me go back and see. Oh, wow. That's a big mistake. That's a big mistake on my end. I'm gonna edit. By the time you probably watch this video, there is gonna be a section with tables. I should have included how to use tables, but using tables is not complicated. Here is an example over here. This is how you format a table. For example, why don't we build this table that we have over here? So I am going to put it on the corner as a reference. I'm gonna close the preview for the time being, and I'm gonna get rid of all of this. Okay, so I am going to do here Ubuntu. Ubuntu has 7 official flavors. Ubuntu has 7 official flavors right over here. So I take that the headings are logo, flavor, and the download link. So I'm gonna do logo, pipe, and then flavor, pipe, and then download link. Okay, now I am going to just put exactly how you see it. A bunch of minus signs right over there. And then over here, I can start filling in the table. In the first field, I can put the logos. For example, this is the Ubuntu logo. So why don't we go and look for the Ubuntu logo? Ubuntu logo. And right here. And I'm going to do open, copy link location. Perfect. And I'm going to do here, Ubuntu logo, Ubuntu logo. Perfect. Now I'm going to paste the URL. Wow, that URL is too big. I don't think that's right. Let me open it. Yep. To open image in a new open link. Nope. Copy link location. Let me see if that's correct. That is the actual link. That image is really big. Then I can do over here flavor. This is called Ubuntu, as it is in the document over here. And the download link is right over here, so I'm just gonna copy it from here. Notice that all I did was I put in the image for the logo, similar to how it is on my table over here. Then I put a pipe. Then I put Ubuntu. And by the way, the pipe is that character that you have right above your enter key on your keyboard. And then the URL, exactly how it is over here. Now, how is it rendering? Why don't we take a look? See? That's a nice, beautiful table. Obviously, this table is not as pretty because that logo is gigantic. I would personally just find a smaller logo or just shrink that picture with an online tool. But that's how you do a table. And why don't we do another one, just for the sake of practice? This is Ubuntu, so I'm gonna look for Ubuntu. Let's see if I can find a smaller logo. That's better. Oh wow, that's humongous. That's a huge link. That's a huge link. Now let me use a URL shortener to make that URL shorter. Shorten URL. Oh, it's an invalid link. That's bad. All because I don't want to resize an image. There you go. That's better. Open image. View image. Nope. That's too big. There you go. That's better. Perfect. That's a little better. Okay, so the next one is Ubuntu. So I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm gonna do Ubuntu, and I'm gonna research for an image later. Pipe, and then the name of the flavor is Ubuntu, and then the URL to where to download Ubuntu, and we have it right over here, so we don't have to go crazy looking for it nowhere. Perfect. And obviously the image for the logo is gonna be over here. For the sake of an example, I'm just gonna copy the same one over here, but you will do your own research on that. Again, how do you find the logos? You just look for the particular operating system. This one is called Ubuntu, so I'm gonna search it here, Ubuntu logo. And since I'm looking for a small image, I'm just gonna go to Tools. I'm gonna go to Image first, and I'm gonna go to Tools. Then in Size, I'm gonna go to Icons so that I know that small images are the ones that are gonna be shown to me. Then I'm gonna click on Open in a new tab. I don't want to open the link, I want to open the image. So no, bye bye. Let's view the image, and I can copy the URL from here as well. Make sure that the URL starts with either HTTP or HTTPS so that it is a proper link, and so that you don't have any issues later on. And you can paste them over here. If you find that the link that you're getting is way too big, you can use a URL shortener service like the one that I was showing you over there, like Rebrandly. I use Rebrandly a lot, so. And you can paste your URL over here, come on load. You can create an account if you want, but you can use it as well without creating an account. You can shorten the URL. Okay, why you don't want to work? There you go, perfect. And click on copy, and look how short the URL is. So you can go over here and you can paste it right over here. Normally I shorten URLs that are too long just to make my Markdown document easier to read. But it's not a requirement. It's just for those of you who care about aesthetics. And then that's it. That's how you do a simple table. That you have everything that you need to replicate this document that is not long in Markdown. Now, what are you gonna give me as a submission? That's very easy. What you're gonna give me is, let's go over here. We did question 4 already. We replicated the document using Markdown. Obviously, you're gonna finish the whole thing. I only show you examples to explain the presentation. Question 5. Export the Markdown to PDF. And how do you do that? Okay, that's very easy. Right click, and you should have the option to export to PDF. Click the second one that says export to PDF. Let's wait for this to finish. By the way, if I didn't mention it before, I'm working inside a virtual machine, so obviously the performance is not going to be the same for me as it will be for you. Yours is going to be much faster. Click over here, and the PDF is generated in the same folder where your Markdown document is. So if you click over here, let's open it. Yes, I want to open it with Edge because for somehow that's what Microsoft decided instead of actually putting a PDF reader. And you have a beautiful PDF document over here already generated from simple text. Let's close that. I can also turn this into a website. Why don't we do that? Let's right click and let's export this to HTML. And if I go back over here, notice that a new HTML page has been generated for me from my Markdown document. And this is HTML. Don't believe me? Inspect the source. For instance, I can open it here on Open File. PDF generated automatically for me, which is great for those who like saving time. Sorry, HTML generated automatically from the Markdown document. Now, once you have done this part over here, you converted it to PDF, you also exported it to HTML. What you're gonna give me? Okay, well, you're gonna go to Blackboard once you have finished with all of that. Perfect. Click on lab 0, and what you're gonna submit is, gonna go where I have my file. You're gonna give me the markdown file, and you're also going to give me the PDF file. So two submissions, right? Two submissions. If you miss one submission, you get 50 points. Just remember that. The markdown file and the PDF file. And you're gonna click on submit. And that's it. You have completely successfully done lab 0. This is one of the longest lab that you will do, because in this lab I had to go through an entire presentation. Normally labs are way shorter than this. They go between 20 minutes to like 30 minutes, and that's it. This is the longest lab that you will do. I'll see you in class.